Cousin Karen by James Webster. Mum was reading a letter. "Your cousin Karen is coming to stay this weekend," she said. "You can look after her." "Oh," thought John. On Saturday, Karen came. John stared. What a dress she was wearing! It had frills all over the front and a big bow at the back. "Oh dear," thought John. Boy barked at Karen. "I don't think he likes silly frilly dresses," said John. Karen went red. "And I don't think I like your silly little dog," she said. John took Karen out. They met Jim. He stared at that dress, but he tried to be friendly. "Let's play football," he said. "I can't," said Karen. "Not in this dress." Jim pulled a face. "Cricket then?" "No, it's too hot." "How about a swim?" "It's too cold." "Let's climb trees?" "I can't," said Karen. "Not in this dress." Jim did a handstand. "No football?" he panted. "No cricket, no swimming, and no tree climbing? What can you do then?" Karen went red again. "Can't we go for a walk?" Jim stood up and grinned. "Yes, let's go up Top Hill." Top Hill was rocky and steep. "Wait for me," called Karen. She could not keep up in that silly frilly dress. "Oh, let's go home," said Jim. On the way home, Karen's bow came undone. Boy grabbed at the frilly end. He pulled. Karen pulled. Rip went the dress. "You bad dog," said Karen, but she didn't seem angry. "You don't like my dress, do you?" She bent down and whispered, "Well, I hate it too." Now Karen's dress was a real mess. "I can't mend that," said John's mum. "You'll have to wear something else. Have you got any jeans?" "No," said Karen. "Mother didn't let me bring my jeans." She made a face. Mum went to a drawer. "What about these?" she said, smiling. "John's old jeans." "Thanks," laughed Karen. Then she hugged Boy. "And thank you too." The next morning, Karen raced the boys up Top Hill. Now she had jeans, she could beat them. On one side of the hill was a steep, rocky path. Boy raced along it. He was chasing a rabbit. He skidded. He slipped right over the edge. "Boy!" John got to the edge. Then his heart sank. There was a drop of nearly 100 meters. How could Boy still be alive? But he was. Yes, he was. He lay on a little ledge about 2 meters down. "Keep still," John called. "Keep still till I get you." John started off. Then he looked down. Suddenly he felt dizzy. "Give me a hand. Pull me up," he called. "Let me try, John." Karen began to climb down. She did not feel dizzy. She wasn't a bit scared. But then one foot slipped. "Help me!" she cried. Jim grabbed her arm. Cousin Karen hung on. Then she called, "Hey, I can just feel the ledge. Don't let go." "She's got him," said Jim. Karen stood up. She passed Boy to John. "Well done," Jim said, and pulled her up. Now they were all safe. Boy gave her a lick. "I couldn't have done that in my silly frilly dress," she laughed, hugging him. Now Karen was a real friend. When they got home, she said, "You and Jim must come and stay with us next weekend." She hugged Boy. "You too." The next weekend, John's dad drove them to Karen's house. It was a great big place. "Wow," said John. Karen ran out to meet them. "Do you really live here?" asked Jim, looking around. "Yes and no," laughed Karen. "It's a famous old house. My father looks after it." Karen's mum and dad had a flat over the stables. They all went into the flat and had a cup of tea. Then John's dad drove home. The old house was full of people looking over it. Karen showed her friends round. Then she took them down a dark old passage. "We keep people out of this part," she said softly. "Why?" asked John. "Can you keep a secret?" said Karen, looking round. The two boys nodded. Karen pressed something. "Hey, look," whispered Jim. "A secret door." Inside was a room. It was like a bedroom, but all the things had dust covers over them. "Spooky," whispered Jim. "Don't go in." Karen pulled John back. "Why, scared of ghosts?" Karen nodded. "They say someone was murdered here." "Murdered?" said Jim. "How?" "He was stabbed in the back." Karen shut the secret door. "They say his ghost comes back at night." "Ghosts?" laughed John. "I don't believe in ghosts." But Jim didn't look so sure. They walked back to the flat. "All right then," said Karen. "I dare you to go into that room at night." "Okay," laughed John. "Let's all go." Jim's face fell. Then they took Boy for a long walk. He loved the old house and the park. There were so many places for him to explore. When they got back, it was dark. The house was empty. John gave Boy his dinner. "Stay here now," he said. "Ready to go?" asked Karen. "Of course," said John. "What about you, Jim?" "Well, okay," said Jim. "Come on then," said Karen, and off they went. Boy saw them going. He didn't like being left behind. He slipped out. Karen and the boys walked down the passage. "What's that?" Jim stopped dead. "Owls," said John. "Come on." Karen opened the secret door. It was dark, cold, and quiet as the grave. "Spooky," thought Jim. He shut his eyes tight. Boy found the back door open and slipped into the house. He wanted to find John. He began to whine softly. "Hey," said John suddenly. "I can hear something." They could all hear it. A noise, a spooky noise. "It's the ghost!" gasped Jim. Boy heard them. He ran into the room. It was very dark. He got tangled up in one of the bedsheets. He whined again. The spooky noise was in the room now. "Let's get out of here!" shouted Jim. A white shape came towards them. "The ghost!" yelled Karen. "Help! Run!" John fell flat on his face. The white shape jumped on top of him. "Help!" yelped John. A head came out of the sheet. A tongue licked John's face. "Boy, it's you!" cried John. Boy wagged his tail. He had found John at last. "You scared us to death," laughed John, getting up. "I wasn't scared," Boy seemed to say, "even if I am as white as a sheet."